Good morning. Welcome to From the Nosebleeds. I'm Joey Gunnar here with Trent Finnegan. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. The Broncos have obviously played well through the weeks that they have been out there getting these wins together, lining up, taking down teams one by one. And of course, it's been led by a few different position groups who have really taken on the brunt of the action and have led the Broncos to these amazing wins. But we should be sitting here looking at each position group, giving them grades. And that's exactly what Trent and I did today. We gave each position group a grade for the Broncos. Overall, they look pretty good, Trent. They look pretty good. I'd love to hear what your first grade is for each specific position group on this team.
Yeah, and this is a 9-2 team. Like there has been some weird spots and some struggles here and there, but at the end of the day, it's still a 9-2 team. And you're only a 9-2 team if you got everybody playing well as a collective. And I think that's what the Broncos have got. So we're gonna start with the quarterback, the most important position, Bo Nix. I had that one as a B-. There's been some inconsistencies, there's been some struggles. There's been some bad footwork. There's been some misses on deep balls. But then there's been some good. There's been some good, like you saw at the end of that Kansas City game. 2 massive throws on that last drive. And look, 5 fourth quarter comebacks. 5 fourth quarter comebacks. You can't argue with that. That's a clutch gene that not very many people have. And I'm going to have to give Nix a B-. Just that raises him up at least a grade for me.
Yeah, no, I definitely see that. And I was right there with you on a very similar kind of pace in your thinking there. I gave him a little bit of a lower grade. C+ is where I've got Bo Nix at. And that's not bad, guys. That is passing. That is a passing grade. C is if you are 5-5, you're winning games, you're doing all right. I'm giving him that C+ because of the fact that he's had these fourth quarter comebacks where he's looked solid. But then you see that there are really bad moments. He can't hit a deep ball to save his life until games like the Chiefs come along where he is looking calm and collected, hitting the deep balls in clutch moment when he's supposed to. He looked good in that singular game. He looked good in that singular game up against the Bengals and the Cowboys. But overall, I don't feel comfortable giving him over a C+. So I'm right there with you on that one. Overall, the Bo Nix has looked all right. I think that's what you can take from those grades right there. I do want to move on, though, to the next one, which is the running back room. Trent, where do you got that one at?
So we all know how great J.K. Dobbins has been this year, and obviously he's out for the season. We're not factoring that into this. This is just what we've seen up to this point. Dobbins is phenomenal. RJ Harvey, the rookie, he's been coming along. He's had a couple games opportunities. He's still only at 4 yards a carry, trying to find his NFL footing. And then Tyler Beatty is just, he can't catch a ball to save his life, but we're still doing this thing on third downs where Sean Payton's trying to get him the ball in these screen passes, or Bo's sitting him on the check down, and he's either getting the ball and falling down or just not catching the ball. So I do think that the depth of the room puts a little damper on this. So I'm going to go A- just because Dobbins has been so great, but Harvey and Beatty still need to figure it out a little bit.
Yeah. I'm the type of guy that grades based on what I've seen so far. And what I've seen so far is a really great running back room, a running back who is top 5 in the league in rush yards, and that's J.K. Dobbins. He's led this team on the ground, something that the Broncos have not had in recent years. It's been a long time since they've had a back as consistent as J.K. Dobbins. And of course, him likely being out for the rest of the season. We don't know if he's going to be back for the, hypothetically the Super Bowl, but for the rest of the regular season, he's not going to be playing. So that sucks. And my grade is going to drop by the end of the season. Right now, though, from what I've seen with J.K. Dobbins on the field, with R.J. Harvey breaking out for some big runs, I'm giving this running back room an A. And it's not all because of how good the running backs are playing. It's actually a lot of how the offensive line is playing. And I just want to kind of preface that when you hear what my grade is for the offensive line coming up in a little bit. But again, kind of on the same track here, Trent and I really believing that this running back room has a lot of potential. A lot of growth can still be had. And I've got faith in them. I've got faith in them to carry on. And that's the most you'll hear me say about RJ Harvey, picking up that slack that J.K. Dobbins is leaving behind. They'll definitely need him to if they want to continue succeeding. This is a fun one, more skill positions. What's the wide receiver and tight end room look for you?
I think we're on the same page on this one. And while the running back room has been great, we all know that this wide receiver room has not been great. And the tight end room, they pick up Evan Ingram in the offseason. He still hasn't been able to make a lot of noise. I'm giving it a C. Ingram's got 5 drops this season. That's not – I know Knicks hasn't exactly been out of this world. Ingram's got 5 drops. Sutton's got 4 drops. Troy Franklin's got 3 drops. It's just been underwhelming at times. And yes, there are certain instances where Bo Nix kind of punts on the play too early and he either hits the check down or he scrambles and throws it away while there's a deeper route developing that's going to get open. There are times as well when Nix is staying in the pocket and he's throwing a ball and he's not getting help, whether these guys aren't getting enough separation, whether they're dropping the ball like we are just talking about. It's just there's so much talk at the trade deadline of does this team need to go out and get another receiver right now? And they didn't. And I don't know, is that going to come back to bite them in the playoffs? Do we think it is?
Yeah, I don't think so, because we've seen teams in recent years be able to win without the best wide receiver rooms. I mean, you think back to any of the Chiefs teams. Tyreek Hill, of course, was incredible, but I mean, outside of Tyreek Hill, I know how you like Rashee Rice, but I mean, is he really that good? So, I mean, the wide receiver room could be better, but I think that a lot of this is just on the fact that they're not being a good enough supporting cast. I mean, you think about how little we've heard Evan Ingram, how little we've heard Marvin Mims in the pass game. That guy, Marvin Mims, was incredible last year on those deep balls. And now it's something like, hey, Bo Nix isn't able to connect on those this season. It's going to lower the wide receiver grade a little bit more. Evan Ingram, nowhere to be found. Troy Franklin has played pretty well so far this season. Pat Bryant, he's all right. He's growing. I think that he, out of all the rookies, aside from Jahdae Barron, who's been pretty good this season, he's the one I have the most faith in. He's looking really solid. He's getting involved early and often. And then Courtland Sutton, your reliable number 1 target, your third down guy. You just haven't seen him as much as you'd hope to, especially in a season where Bo Nix was supposed to take a big jump. So yeah, I'm right there with you, Trent. We both gave this wide receiver and tight end room a C on the year so far. Hopefully that can improve. Another one kind of similar, or exactly similar. Both of our grades the same. And I teed this one up a little bit earlier. The offensive line, we both have a pretty high grade for.
It's an A+. This has been the best unit for Denver this season. Even without Ben Powers, they had the reshuffling at left guard. Ben Powers gets hurt, then Matt Peart gets hurt. But you've seen these tackles, Garrett Bowles and Mike McGlinchey, have been great. The run blocking has been great. That's why Dobbins has been so good. And yes, Dobbins is a great running back. But we saw it with Saquon in New York. Even the best running backs in the league, if they don't have a good offensive line, they can't exactly do a whole lot. You see it with Gene T in Las Vegas right now. So this O-line has been phenomenal. They've been keeping Bo Nix clean, even though it might not look like it because he escapes out of the pocket too early sometimes. But the run game's been steady. They've been blocking it well for Nix. There's even with the injuries. And Ben Powers, remember, they said December-ish, mid-December-ish. So Ben Powers could be coming back by that Chiefs game on Christmas night. So this has been a steady group. They've been producing every single game. A+, no questions. Phenomenal job from the big guys up front.
Yeah. And that's what I was saying. With those running backs, the biggest runs that have come from RJ Harvey this season have been because of how good that blocking is. A+, all around one of the best offensive lines in the league. And again, you mentioned those injuries. They're able to perform even though they are hobbled. They are not as healthy as they could be. That just goes to show how good the Broncos offensive line is. Now just imagine how good they are when they're healthy. Flipping to the defensive side of the ball, the defensive line, obviously one of the best in the league. I think that we both know what this grade is going to be, Trent.
Again, it's an A+. I mean, the trenches are why the Broncos are 9-2. We just talked about how great the offense is. The defense, you have Nick Benito bringing the speed off one edge. You have Jonathan Cooper bringing the power off the other edge. You have Zach Allen bringing the technique on one side of the defensive line inside. On the other side, you got John Franklin Myers who's bringing the power. And I think that that's such a unique combination of traits when you have two guys on one sideline who are just dogs, just hungry to eat, and they're just looking to power through anything in front of them. And then you have two guys on the other side who are more technique, more speed-based, and you get this phenomenal combination. We see that's why they're leading the league in sacks, 49 sacks this season. They still got a good chance to break the record. They need to pick it up a little bit. It's been a little slow in recent weeks, but if that's the biggest complaint that we have about this defensive line is, oh, they might not break the sack record anymore, that shows that it's an A+. They've been good in the run game. They've been good in the pass rush. And yes, I am going to include Benito and Cooper on this, even though they're technically outside linebackers or edges. Those guys are on the line. I'm going to include them in there.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at what they've done so far, 49 sacks in a season, averaging about 4.5 in a game. That's insane. Yeah, they still could break that record. I mean, there are games coming up against the Commanders and against the Raiders again, where they're going up against QBs. If Davis Mills is still playing, they could easily break the sack record this season. I know that was something we touched on a lot earlier this year, but if you're even in that conversation to break a record as big as that, then yeah, you deserve an A+, no matter what time of the year we are doing these grades. If we're doing them in week 1 or week 18, I guarantee the grade for the defensive line would be about the same. And you spoke on how those guys on the edge are technically linebackers. We're counting them as D linemen. Moving back a little bit, the linebacker room. This has been a room that has had its struggles, its fair share of struggles, especially with Alex Singleton being out, and of course, Dre Greenlaw being MIA for a good portion of the season.
Yeah, so the off-ball linebackers, I'm still going to give him a B because I do think that Singleton really picked it up in the couple games before he had the surgery to remove his cancer. But I thought that he picked it up. I really think that Justin Strnad has been a great player this season. He led the team in tackles against against Kansas City at 10 tackles. And then he's been great blitzing when Vance Joseph wants to hit the quarterback. Strnad's been great at that. Greenlaw's been solid. And yes, Greenlaw's injury hurts. Singleton's injury, like, you just haven't had consistency in this room this season. And hopefully when Singleton comes back, you can finally get that consistency that you've been looking for since you signed Greenlaw, really, because they didn't have it in training camp, and obviously they didn't have it at the start of the season. So I will say I'll give him a B. I'll be a little generous with this one because I do think that Strnad has really, really picked it up. And Greenlaw, even though he hasn't played in many games, I do think that he's been solid in the limited appearances he's gotten.
Yeah, so I'm not going to be as kind as you. I think you have to take the injuries into account a little more. And as much as it sucks, if this team is fully healthy and every linebacker in this room is healthy and ready to play, then yeah, I think they're close to a B, maybe B+. But I'm going to give them a C because of the injuries, because of Dre Greenlaw being gone, because of the fact that Alex Singleton, for a good portion of the season, was not playing as well as he played in his last 2 games before having surgery to remove his cancer. There were a lot of struggles with this room, and you see the Broncos getting attacked by tight ends often. It's because of those off-ball linebackers who aren't able to play as well as the other defensive position groups around them. So yeah, I'm going to give them a C for this one. I think that they could be better if they just get healthy and, we see Dre Greenlaw really step into the role that he was supposed to play.
Yeah, I agree with you. And the good thing is, hey, they're 9-2. I'm going to keep saying this. They're 9-2 and they haven't gotten to really get a good sense of continuity in that linebacker room. There's plenty of room to build on things. You said 2 weaker opponents in Washington and Las Vegas coming up the next 2 weeks. So good time for these guys to really kind of finally gel together for this home stretch. But I think the last one is the most fun one, the secondary. Obviously, Pat Surtain's injury is tough, but still got some fun guys in there. What do you got for these DBs?
Oh, I got to give them an A. Even with PS2's injury, they have performed well. You saw Jahdae Barron get a pick 6 that was nullified and brought back because of, guess who? Riley Moss getting a penalty. But we still saw Jaquan McMillan get a pick at the end of that same drive. So we're seeing this DB room still go out there and continue to succeed, even with their leader in PS2 being out. And he's expected to come back real soon. So if I'm giving him an A now, imagine what that's going to look like when PS2 is back on the field. I want to hear what you got for that one, Trent.
I got a B minus. I think Surtain's been great. I think McMillan's been really good. I have liked Barron. I just want Barron to get on the field more, man. But I do think that Chris Abrams' drain has been solid in Surtain's absence. He plays soft, so he's not getting beat over the top, but things like slants, ins, comebacks, where he just doesn't have any leverage whatsoever, and the receiver's doing all the work in front of him, and he rallies and makes the tackle. He hasn't been missing the tackles, which is a good thing, but he's still letting a lot of those kind of underneath routes go because he's been playing some softer coverage one in man. And then Moss is just a tricky one because we know he's been good. We know his numbers have been good, but he's got 9 pass interference penalties. He's got 11 penalties called on him this season. That's the second most in the NFL, only to Kansas City's Jawan Taylor, the right tackle who lines up in the backfield and gets called for illegal formation, what seems like every other play. But it's just the penalties are so massive. The Chiefs, 2 of the Chiefs' 3 biggest plays on Sunday were Riley Moss DPIs. It's just and teams are going to notice that. Hey, this guy can't fix his hands. Hey, we're just going to chuck it at him 3 times a game and hope we can get a 50-yard penalty on him. So I do think that he's been solid. I know his numbers are really good. He's been targeted. He's one of the most targeted cornerbacks in football because he's playing opposite of Surtain. But if he could just fix the hands, it would be better. But I'm going to go B+ for this room.
Yeah, and we forgot to mention the second best probably acquisition of the season, Talanoa Hufanga, who's been incredible. I mean, talk about a seamless fit into this defense. He's picked up a brunt of the workload in the safety, area. He's been incredible. So overall, yeah, I'm giving them all their flowers. The only reason they're not an A+ for me is because of exactly what you just mentioned, the Riley Moss penalties. If he cleaned up half of those penalties, they would be an A+ position group.
Definitely.
For me.
And you brought up Hufanga's great, and the most unsung hero of this Broncos defense is Brandon Jones. Brandon Jones at safety and the back end. Nobody talks about him ever. He's got 1 pick this year. It was against the Chargers way back in week 3. He had recovered a fumble back against Tennessee in week 1. His numbers have been a little down. He doesn't have more than 6 tackles in either of the last 5 games. But this guy is just solid. He's not getting beat in coverage. He's not missing tackles. And nobody says a peep about him because he's doing his job. And that's what you want in football. If somebody's not getting talked about, that's because they're doing something. They're probably doing something right. Yeah. We're talking about Riley Moss because he commits all these penalties. Nobody says a peep about Brandon Jones because he's always in the right place, whether it's pass defense or run defense. And Hufanga's getting all the spotlight because it's this new face. He's flying around making big hits. But Brandon Jones has been great this season. Nobody's been saying his name because he hasn't done anything wrong, and he's been a very quiet but important part of this secondary.
I love that. We're going to start a new campaign called #Don't Talk About Brandon Jones. Just keep him like that. Don't talk about Brandon Jones. He's doing his job. No need to talk about him. Last but not least, definitely not least, we got to talk about special teams. So our grades are a little bit different in this one. And I don't know if you're counting Marvin Mims on the special teams as much as I am, but I'm giving them a B+ because of the fact that Marvin Mims has been incredible in the punt return game so far this season. And because Will Lutz has looked pretty good. He's missed only 3 field goals this season, 2 of them from 50+ yards and 1 from 40 to 49. So pretty solid, has yet to miss an extra point. I'm giving them a B+ for this one. What do you give the special teams unit?
I'm going C+ because coaching's a part of it, and Darren Rizzi's a part of this unit. And I get, Mims has been great. Mims gave them 3 points. Should have been 7 points on Sunday with that 70-yard punt return in the first quarter. Lutz just won Player of the Week. Lutz had Player of the Month. He's been phenomenal as well. You brought it up. But that Michael Bandy muff punt that cost him 3 points in the Texans game. There's been a couple penalties. Remember, Michael Bandy was only in the Texans game because there was a missed substitution in the Dallas game before it that resulted in Marvin Mims getting a concussion because he should have been out. He wasn't out. It didn't get subbed, and he gets a concussion on this kick return. Jeremy Crawshaw, he has been inconsistent. He's had some big booms, but he's had a couple of bad punts, like you saw in that Raiders game. So it's just been fairly inconsistent for the special teams unit outside of Will Lutz. So I'm going to give him a C plus. There's room for improvement, but there's been quite a few games where you're like, like the special teams has not been what it could be.
Well, yeah, if there was a title for a book on the Broncos 2025-26 season, the title would be Inconsistency.
Yes.
But I mean, you got to look for me on the special teams. I'm looking at who's putting up points, who's putting numbers on the board, and Will Lutz has been pretty lights out so far this season. So those are the position group grades. We got to put a bow on this conversation. What is your team grade for the Broncos this season?
I think it's a B plus. Like we're saying, inconsistency, and there's been some great moments and some great plays. Nick Bonito's been amazing. J.K. Dobbins has been amazing. Pat Surtain has been amazing. But like we said, just the inconsistencies. The offense has been a little weird at times. The coaching, you're like, hey, why did Sean do that on this play? Hey, why did Rizzy do that on this kick? I do think Vance Joseph has been awesome. We didn't talk about him at all, but B plus. And I say it again, like they have so much room for improvement still. And they hit this bye. They get a huge week to rest. They get two inferior opponents to kind of build some momentum on. So I think this team has only been a B plus, and they're 9-2. And a couple weeks ago it was like, hey, like this team has a good record, but they're probably going to lose in the wild card round. I think that the Chiefs game showed that, hey, when this team gets up to playing like an A minus, an A, they can really beat anybody in this league.
Yeah. So that's a great thought that you had, and it actually led to my grade, which is A minus. If they don't beat the Chiefs, I'm probably closer to a B minus maybe, but they beat the Chiefs, A minus. You beat the title favorite at that point. They were Super Bowl favorites. They were favorited to win it all. The Chiefs were. It's incredible. They're still favored over the Broncos to win the Super Bowl this season. Take that in for a second. The Chiefs are still favored to win the Super Bowl over the Denver Broncos. So yeah, I have to give them an A minus because they dethroned the king. The Chiefs have been ruling the NFL for the past almost decade, it's felt like. So yeah, what they did on Sunday boosted me from a B to an A minus. They are playing good football. They just need to clean up some of these wins against inferior opponents, which I've got total faith that they will do next week when we're talking about them against the Washington Commanders. Great conversation. Love doing these. I mean, going into the bye week, it's important to step back and look at each of these position groups, see how they're playing. I've got a lot of faith. I mean, I've regained all my faith going forward in this Broncos team. I'm really excited to see what they do up against the Commanders next week. But we should move on. The Nuggets played last night, and this was a win that had a lot of stories around it. It wasn't a good win. It was an ugly win that the Nuggets should have dominated in. But Payton Watson, oh my goodness, and Zeke Naji and Nikola Jokic, there are a lot of different people that we could talk about who were on the court yesterday. What a game we got to see on a Wednesday night.
So let's knock the Jokic thing out. 28 points, 11 rebounds, 12 assists, but 9 turnovers and 6 fouls. Like, again, not the best Jokic game, but still 28, 12, and 9.
Yeah.
That was good. Payton Watson, 32 and 13. He hit all 4 of his corner threes. He hit 5 of his 9 threes on the night. It's interesting. His shot chart is so interesting. He hits all his corner threes. He misses 4 of his 5 above the break threes. And then everything else is in the restricted area, just layups and dunks. And that's because he's good at cutting off the Jokic, and since he's so lanky, he can get to the rim so easily. So that guy's playing like he wants a new contract. I get why the Nuggets didn't sign him, didn't extend him when they extended Christian Brown back before the season. But it was good to see Payton Watson do that, and it was a big surprise. And when you got Aaron Gordon out, we know how big Aaron Gordon is. You need people to step up. And Watson said, hey, Aaron Gordon's out, and hey, Jamal Murray's shooting 5 for 14 tonight. He was a really, really huge factor and swung that game for them last night.
Yeah, Payton Watson's been playing like a man who wants a contract, and it's going to be a mistake for the Nuggets to look back on how they didn't give him an extension earlier this season with Christian Brown because he's been playing at a very consistent level this season. He's going to be able to get a lot of offers around the league if he were to go into free agency. Luckily, there's not a chance that the Nuggets let him go. He is a restricted free agent, so the Nuggets have first right of refusal. I would be shocked if there is even whispers about Payton Watson not getting another contract done this season. It's got to happen, right? Like, or in the offseason, I mean, it's got to happen.
It's unless like a middling team gives him just too much money that the Nuggets just financially can't make it happen. And a team like a Phoenix could do that and say, hey, look at this guy. He's had some flashes, but then you got to think, hey, the Jokic tax. Everybody has the Jokic tax. It's the LeBron tax of the old days where everybody looks better around Jokic.
Except for one guy who's out in New York City right now, who's had 7 straight games of 20-plus points. I mean,
that's an interesting one. Michael Porter's an outlier because he was supposed to be a number 1 pick, and we know he's got talent, and he's now the number 1 option on that terrible team.
Yeah, so that's what plays in there. There's the Jokic tax, and then there's the Brooklyn tax, where if you're playing in Brooklyn and you are able to shoot the way MPJ is able to shoot, you're going to get the ball every time down the court. We know MPJ, he's a ball stop. I love him. I love the guy, but he's a ball stop. If it touches his hands, it's either going in the hoop or it's going around the hoop. It's not going anywhere else. It's stopping with him. But yeah, sorry to go off topic.
No, you're good. But here's my thing with Payton Watson's contract. Like, this is good. If any team gives him a contract over this game, that's malpractice. He should be getting his contract based on how he's going to play in the playoffs this season. And we saw against OKC last year, he had some good moments defensively, but then missed some bunnies in the paint on layups. So it'll be interesting to see his price tag. But again, there's a world where a lower tier team offers him just too much money and the Nuggets have to let him walk. But
yeah.
Another thing from last night's game with Aaron Gordon being out is Zeke Naji playing 27 minutes as a starter, scoring 2 points, not making a field goal, and being minus 18 from the floor, or when he's on the floor. Minus 18 against the Pelicans. Do you know how bad?
That's sickening.
That's
sickening to think about. That makes me sick. Calvin Booth, you have done terrible things to this franchise, and you will not be forgiven ever. I know what they were trying to do. I know what the Nuggets were trying to. They were trying to show Zeke Naji off as a flashy thing. Like, hey, look what he can do up against the Pelicans to show him off around the league.
It got worse.
And it was so much worse. It was so much worse than anybody anticipated. Tony Snell kind of game. 2 points. What else did he have? Like 1 rebound, maybe a little bit more.
4 rebounds, 2 steals, a block, and 2 fouls. But still, the only other Nugget who was negative was Jamal Murray was a -2. Everyone else was positive, and Zeke is somehow a minus 18 in 27 minutes. It's comical. Deron Holmes is down there in the G League. They're probably going to keep him down there all season, but we know that Deron Holmes is better than Zeke Naji, and like you said, this maybe was a game where they're like, hey, let's try and bump his trade value up. And now there's literally no value at all associated with him.
Yeah. The problem is they've got what Zeke Naji was supposed to be. They've got 2 players in which I believe Zeke Naji was supposed to be. Your guy, Spencer Jones. Gotta love him.
Jones.
A tall, athletic forward that can block shots, play great defense. Spencer Jones' defense is impeccable. And then they've got Deron Holmes, who's in the G League right now. Those 2 guys can be what Zeke Naji was supposed to. I get it. You saw Zeke Naji. You saw a tall, athletic forward who was quick, who could get his hands up in the air and stuff shots sometimes and clog passing lanes. I get that. But it's not working out. It didn't work out then. It's not working out now. Will go down as one of the worst contracts in Nuggets franchise history, which is crazy. But it will go down as one of the worst contracts in franchise history.
And it's crazy because he only makes $8 million a year, but it's still that bad.
Yeah.
It's that bad. And he's under contract through 2028. He
Yeah,
has
like it's
he
so
has
bad.
2.5 seasons left, and that 27-28 season is a player option.
Mm.
It's just when you have a team that's trying this hard to win and your margins are so small and you have to make every penny count and you have this waste of a roster spot making $8 million, it's detrimental to the entire organization.
It is. It is. And we're not even talking about how bad the game was yesterday because of how bad that singular performance was. It wasn't a great win for the Nuggets. You know, you're up by 19 in the fourth quarter, clawed all the way back from down 13 at one point in the second quarter. They really loosened up too much towards the end of the game. So they can be better. There's just that was a game that they should have easily won. And, you know, they still got the win, but it's similar to how we talk about the Broncos. You know, style points do matter in games like this. You're coming off of a loss to the Bulls at home. The Bulls played the hardest back-to-back in the NBA, playing in Salt Lake City one night, going to double overtime, coming to Denver, the hardest place to play in the league, and winning, walking into your trap and taking over your trap. And then you go play the Pelicans, Smoothie King Arena, and you can barely win by 7. It really just it was an upsetting win. I expected more from the Nuggets, and I expect them to do more. But they've got a really hard matchup tomorrow, and if they play like they did yesterday, they are not beating the Houston Rockets.
No, not at all. Not at all. And you'd assume Gordon's going to play for that one, so we're not going to have to see Zeke Naji out on the floor with Kevin Durant tomorrow. Let's hope.
Goodness.
But
A nightmare.
yeah, hopefully Gordon will be back. Yesterday was just a little maintenance game. You know, they're being smart with his injuries given how he missed a decent chunk of last season. So yeah, big game against the Rockets. And if Zeke Naji plays 27 minutes, that game's going to be over by halftime.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's an NBA Cup game tomorrow. We'll be back with you guys again tomorrow, talking about that game, talking about more of the Broncos. Of course, this bye week is huge that they're on it right now, really regaining their energy, going forward into a couple of easy weeks and then back into a gauntlet of a schedule in the latter half of the season. But thank you guys so much for joining. We will see you all tomorrow. Until then, you'll have a great rest of your day. Bye, y'all.